following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah, go Cowboys!
This is the DallasCowboys.com Draft Show. Your war room for insider news and draft analysis from deep within the confines of Cowboys headquarters at the Star in Frisco.
The Dallas Cowboys select Michael Parsons! Woo!
And now, your hosts, Brian Broaddus, Jeff Kavanaugh, Kyle Yeomans, and David Hellman.
It is Tuesday, March the 8th, 2022. This is the Draft Show presented by Miller Lite. And fellas, it's go time, y'all. It's actually, like, there's no more of this, like, qualifying, like, early days. We don't know a whole lot. The NFL Combine is over. We are back from Indianapolis. We are back with Jeff Kavanaugh and Brian Broaddus, Kyle Yeomans sitting down beside me. Let's talk some Combine. Let's talk some takes, some reactions, preferably hot takes. The hotter, the better. How you feeling? Yeah, let me guess where you're going, Jeff.
Did you know Skyy Moore at 24 rhymes?
We're not.
Did you know that?
We're not doing this. Like, I mean, we can have a conversation about Skyy Moore at 56. I feel like
wouldn't hate it at 24. I'm just going to put it out there. That's how good I think he is.
Jesus Christ.
Skyy
Okay.
Moore's tape is awesome, and now he runs the fastest 10-yard split amongst the receivers and runs sub 4.4. Skyy Moore's going to be a beast in the NFL. Get ready.
I mean, I knew we were going
Beast in the NFL.
I knew we were going to talk about Skyy Moore, but I always appreciate you just getting it right out of the way, right off the jump.
You can't have him at 56.
You don't think so?
Nope.
The question is if he's going to be in the top 50. That's the next question.
Yeah.
That people are asking around the league is, where does he fit in that, he's really 5'10" if you look at his height, And so the questions are, your fits. Jeff sold him as an inside guy that with potential of playing outside.
But I wouldn't put him there.
Yeah.
I'd play him inside.
Yeah. Right.
Now the question is the question that people are going to have to ask, and Skyy Moore, in my opinion, will end up with a really good team. And what'll happen is it's a team that probably already has a pretty deep roster, and then you could say, well, we're not going to get Skyy Moore on the second go. So you have to take him. Those teams at the bottom of the board that are looking at Skyy Moore potentially probably aren't going to think about him in the next round. They're going to think like, we got to go now. And so that's why he'll probably get drafted in the top 50.
As exasperated as I am by Skyy Moore, and that's not his fault.
More Skyy Moore.
That's Jeff's fault.
More Skyy Moore.
But I gotta give you credit. You came in here in like late January when he was still seen as like a third or fourth round pick, and you've been pounding the table ever since. He was a huge winner at this combine, and because y'all aren't making this up, everybody who covers this stuff for a living is bumping this guy up their draft boards.
No, you talk to people around the league now, and again, Dane and I were talking about it, and I said, well, where do you see it now? And he's like, you got to talk about him as a top 50 player. And then so I have what's called the gang of 7 of guys around the league that I know, and I'm like, listen, is this the truth on Skyy Moore? And he goes, everybody's like going, this is a really good group of receivers, but with the discussions that we just had a minute ago about if you're one of those teams in the back end that's pretty good, that's got a pretty deep roster, that's where Skyy Moore probably ends up.
Jeff would draft him at 24. I don't think he's climbed that high in the league's estimations yet.
Wait till he gets with Aaron Rodgers or Pat Mahomes at the end of the first round.
That's doable.
I can't wait to see what happens with this.
You think he's going to go like 94?
No, not at all.
Like,
no.
what?
I think he'll go in the top 60 picks. I can't wait to see how the reality lives up to the legend.
Yeah, more people are thinking about him now in the top 50 than they were 2 weeks ago.
Credit to Jeff Kavanaugh for that.
I want to.
How about that?
I put him there.
Yeah.
That was me.
Hey, you graded the players. You put
Skyy
him where you
needs
thought
to
he
give
needed
me
to be.
part of his signing bonus.
No, I think you deserve like a 0.5% finder's fee.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
I want to talk about some more slam dunk prospects for pick 24, like the guys that have been in this conversation. Because interestingly enough, I think a lot of guys that we've talked about on that short list either had really good combines or pretty bad ones.
Yep.
And we can start with receiver. Two that come to mind just looking at it. I don't think Sauce Gardner was ever a consideration at 24. Like, I don't think he was ever going to fall that far. It's not happening now, right? For a guy that big to go and put the numbers that he did in the workouts, top 10 pick.
Oh, first corner off the board.
I think that's fair. Trevor Penning is another one, a Senior Bowl guy that we've talked about. I think he played his way into like the top 15, right?
Yeah, depending on what mock drafts you look at, the Giants have those picks at 5 and 7. I saw one where he was picked at 7. So, I think to me, the Cowboys in the history of really not taking the guys that would be smaller school guys, we kind of talked about that. I honestly think that Penning, as much as the Cowboys like him, I don't think they would play him at guard because he's 6'7".
Yeah.
So if you're looking for, would you draft him at 24 and then play him at guard? I don't think that's the case. I think the Cowboys are going to get somebody likely that's damaged. And I mean damaged in the way of they're deficient in some area. Ooh. And damaged when you start talking about, that Dean, he's short. Mm-hmm. Lloyd didn't work out particularly great. That doesn't bother me, but the film's too good on those guys. Linderbaum is never going to be huge, but nobody has overcome his limitations to play as well as he has.
So I wanted to bring him up. I was going to start with receivers, but we can start there.
Burks could be a guy, too, that people have a lot of. They say, well, here's a guy that's 6'2", 225 pounds. Is he really a 4.55 guy?
Tyler Linderbaum, 31 1/8 arms.
He is always going to have limitations.
Does that concern you?
Well, okay, I had somebody in the league explain to me this about Tyler Linderbaum, and I think it's a good point. Look what Mike McCarthy and them have done over the years with center. When you look at Green Bay, the Corey Linsleys and guys like that, they've played with undersized centers before, and they've managed to work. That's kind of Joe Philbin's thing. So if, in fact, Tyler Linderbaum deserves every bit of accolades he gets from people, just know that there are physical limitations with him that he's going to overcome.
Kyle, you've been beating that drum this entire time. Are you worried about that?
Not really, because I'm still sticking with the tape. And it kind of goes back when we were talking to Will McClay about it a little bit. And you want to look at it kind of like what Brian just said, too. You want to look at if it affects him. And there's no point throughout his tape or throughout the entire scouting process with him that it's affected him with those 31 1/8 arms. Now, when you get to the next level, that could be the case. So that's where you kind of have to have that next level eye to really see if he is going to struggle blocking some of these guys, blocking some of these interior defensive linemen with those short arms. I don't think he will. But at the same time, maybe other teams think he will struggle at it, and that could push him a little bit further down the board than originally anticipated.
I hate to be the the guy that's the sucker for the combine. I got to give credit. Cowboy Twitter's favorite troll, our buddy Marcus Mosier, posted the list of every center since 2000 with sub 32-inch arms. It's not inspiring.
Yeah, most of those lists are really dumb. And
please,
tell
make
you why,
me feel
because
better
I've seen all the lists he puts out, and the thing is, on those lists, the vast, vast, vast majority of the people who go to the combine are going to be bad in the NFL.
That's a good point.
Congratulations. Yeah. You found a list of the 350 people invited to the combine each year, and then you compiled them in any way you want to. They're going to flop. I went because he did the wide receiver one where it's like if you run a 4.59 or slower, bust. And I was like, all right. And I looked up the 10 fastest receivers in the history of the combine. Trash.
All of them are trash.
It doesn't matter how you sort them. You're grabbing from a pool of everyone invited to the combine, and 90% of the dudes invited to the combine are not going to be good NFL players. So however you choose to sort them, 90% of them are not going to be good NFL players.
I remember looking at that list that you had where it was 4.59 and slower, and I think I saw
off that list, you would not draft Cooper Kupp.
That's what I was about to say.
And what NFL scout watched Cooper Kupp and said, guys, he ran in this time. Most guys who run this time can't play. The answer? None. Because they watched him play, and you knew he was fast enough and he was good enough. So all those lists, to me, are pretty dumb.
I appreciate that. Marcus, if you're listening, we think you're a bum.
Yeah, if the thing about it is, and Jeff's right, I mean, I went back and just was curious about all the times from all the history of the combine of the fastest per position. Half those guys, you're like, who? The Trey Archers and those people like that.
The guys that win the 40, you don't want to win the 40.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, every one of those guys you look at.
You have good tape and be athletic enough to play in the league.
Yeah,
that's what you want to do.
That's the thing about it. Like I said, I mean, it'll be interesting to see because we've talked a lot about Kenyon Green.
That's where I was going. So I know what Jeff's going to say based on what he just said.
Yeah.
Just a mediocre workout across the board.
Well, the strength, the lack of strength numbers. And again, if you've followed me for very long, I have a problem with guys that aren't strong. But as I say that, they end up being great players. I could talk about the David Bakhtiaris and all these guys.
Nate Solder.
Colton Miller. I've talked about all those guys. And every time you think that they have a lack of something, strength, I don't see a weak guy. I see a long-armed guy that's kind of struggles with bench press. But people say, well, is there concern about his strength numbers and stuff? Yeah, I mean, if you want to say that, sure, he doesn't bench a lot. He doesn't have short arms, but he plays strong. That's the thing you got. The combine will take you into another direction if you allow it to. That's to me. I said this the other day. Somebody asked me about Jordan Davis and how impressive that was. The most impressive thing I'd seen Tyrone Wheatley at 232 pounds one time run 4.4. And back in the day, that was super impressive to see a man roll out of bed and run that fast without any kind of training or anything like that they do today. But the thing with Davis, yeah, it's super impressive. To me, that's a number on a tag that I'm going to put on a board. How did he kick that guy's ass from Georgia or from Alabama or Michigan or Florida or all those teams he played? Let's not lose sight of that.
I think that's my thing with Jordan
with all
Davis.
these guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Good and bad.
Yeah.
Jordan Davis tested as the most athletic defensive tackle in the history of the combine.
Yeah.
Do you still
depending on how you want to do that? Because the way that I look at it is the guy, what's his name, Kent Platt at MathBomb on Twitter.
Okay,
and he does the relative athletic scores where it's like if you're 340 pounds and you do this, you get the credit for it, and he essentially scored out as number one ever since we've tested all these things.
Does that change your opinion that he could be more than a situational player?
Yes.
Yeah. Go for it.
Or
But that has to do more with endurance more so than just pure athleticism. I know that pure athleticism would help in that fact, but at the same time, you got to have that stamina in order to stay on the field for 3 straight downs and give it a legitimate effort.
But once you tell me that at 340 pounds, you can run, and I don't really care about the 40 for a defensive tackle, but it's impressive that he got into the 4.7s.
Sure.
I mean, get out of here.
You would never. We were all thinking 4.9 would be amazing.
But even his 10-yard split was, oh wow.
Yeah.
That's a
Got
dude
out
with
of
a
the
really
block.
good get off.
My man can move.
So you look at that and you say, okay, on tape, I know for a fact that people aren't going to move you. He, in college, made very few plays, although a couple that he did outside of the tackle box were really impressive, but for the most part didn't. But I think you look at those numbers and you go, wow, that guy is athletic at that size. I think I can teach you to rush the passer a little bit. Yeah. I think I can keep you on the field.
Do you take him off the field in the nickel?
No, not necessarily.
Because, that's where I would worry a little bit about Dan Quinn, that if you all of a sudden you're playing all these pass rushers, and that, does he come off the field?
I think it depends what version of nickel, because teams play nickel so much, right?
Right,
nickel
that's
is
what
the
I'm
real
saying.
base.
Yeah.
The fact that you have 5 DBs on the field isn't taking Jordan Davis off the field for me.
But you're putting putting rushers on the field though.
Yeah.
You're not putting like Quentin Bohanna on the field.
Trying to
nose
clog the
technique.
field on passing downs.
Yeah.
Obvious passing downs anyway.
Yeah, but the Cowboys aren't taking Neville Gallimore and whoever. They're
Neville
playing
Gallimore-
300-pounders in the
Yeah,
nickel.
but Neville Gallimore could play 1 or 3.
Yeah. Yeah, but you still have a 1 technique in the nickel. You have somebody lined up there.
Yeah, and
A lot of times
it might be a defensive
I'm
end.
going to say it's usually more streamlined player a lot of the time.
A lot of times it's a 3 technique or maybe an edge rusher that they'll throw in there as
Maybe.
well.
That's just a thought.
They're a nickel 80% of the time.
That's what I'm saying.
I think I'm with you,
They
though.
play a 1 technique in the nickel.
No, but what we're saying, DeMarcus Lawrence plays D tackle in the nickel a lot. They get smaller, faster guys
On third down
the
and
field.
stuff
On
like
3rd and 10,
Yeah.
not in nickel.
Yeah, okay.
In nickel is their base defense.
Yeah.
I think we're saying the same thing. So Jordan Davis have changed. Doesn't sound like he's changed your opinion.
No, he's the best 1 technique in the draft. And that's. But does the fact that he ran 4.78 mean he's going to get to you? It depends on because people.
Do you think he played his way out of is 24 off the table?
I think he's gone.
You think he's gone?
I think he's gone.
What about
I think he's
you?
top 20, yeah.
Yeah, I think he's
feel like
probably
that's
gone
20
too.
guys that
I
we've
think
said
he's
that are-
I think he's probably gone too. But the thing about it is, though, I mean, I didn't really think that maybe he would be there at 24. I know nobody's ever really talked about. I mean, I've seen one or two people send mock drafts to Jeff and I all the time.
Yeah,
and everybody sends mock drafts that have Green is the first guy. Lindenbaum. Nobody had Jordan Davis. Very few.
Yeah.
Very few. And then all of a sudden it's like, whoa, would you consider him at 24? And I'm like, I never thought he would get to 24. I never really thought that.
Another offensive line name that I don't want us to get out of here without mentioning.
Sure.
I think Zion Johnson at 24 would be a fine pick.
He had a great week.
We are going to talk about Zion. Don't you worry about it.
Is he better than Green to you now?
I have been wondering that in my own brain all morning. Like, will I flip them because of athletic testing? I love both those players.
I want to get to that in the second segment. We're going to do a whole thing about it. Real quick, though, going back to the receivers, which we started with,
sure.
I do think it's interesting, and nobody's going to overreact to 40 times. Again, Traylon Burks is going to improve his 4.55 at Pro Day. Like, he's going to run a better 40 in Fayetteville. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
So, but
I'll get him at 38 yards.
But when you're doing exactly.
Early stopwatch.
His athletic testing was the same as CeeDee Lamb's. I don't know why we're pretending Traylon Burks had a bad combine.
I think because people
it was below expectations.
People expected him to put up like a
4.41
DK Metcalf thing.
Okay.
Like they expected
he's
him to
6'2",
be a freak.
225 and tested as an average to above average wide receiver athletically in the NFL.
I just think
that works.
I think people thought he was going to explode out of the gym. That's
Yeah.
all. But the reason I ask is like again the old ice cream thing. When you got guys, Chris Olave. We've been talking about this guy as into the first round since we started.
He's my fourth best receiver on the board. Been that way since December.
So he's mine too.
When he tests the way that he did, and then Traylon Burks.
It's the film too.
No, absolutely.
Yeah,
So, but
yeah.
I'm saying, like, in the eyes of these teams, do you think there's any potential for switching this around? Like, has Chris Olave played his way higher than we thought?
Is he 178 pounds?
He's very light.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, people are going to probably look at that a little bit and say, well, he's not as big as sturdy as a guy. But then you watch him play at Ohio State. He makes every play. I mean, we've talked about him. Jeff knows wide receivers. This guy, I mean, the technique that he plays with, the way he catches the football, the way he gets open, the 174-pound stuff's not bothering me at all.
I hate to compare. I'm going to, but I don't want to do. I don't think they're that similar, but we did this with Devontae Smith last year. Like, I mean, he's the lightest receiver I can ever remember being that high of a pick. Mm-hmm. And he's still better player than Chris Olave. I get it. But, like, maybe if he can do everything else, like, I'm very confident Chris Olave is just, like, I feel like you can plug him right in.
Oh, I do too, because I feel like that he could play at a couple different spots.
And I just wonder.
I think he thrives. It's a big-time player right there. He doesn't get the notoriety that he should. I know here I'm talking about a first-round guy. Ohio State's got some really great receivers.
I think that's my point is, like, I feel
he
like
makes just as many plays as the other kids.
He feels like he's been lost in the shuffle. Do you agree? And do you think that he is no longer lost in the shuffle, having run a 4.39 at the combine?
I think he was even kind of lost in the shuffle for me because I don't have Olave as like one of my top 4 or 5 wide receivers. I think the 40 helps him, but I think for me, the guys that are in front of him, you're looking at traits that either I personally or maybe the NFL values right now. And with Olave, my one thing was just like, break a tackle.
Yeah.
Like, he's not a hard-to-tackle guy. So, like, he's a smooth athlete. He's a good route runner. His sideline awareness is great. Like, he's a really good player. And I think he's a step-in second or third receiver for an NFL team. But the guys that I have in front of him, I can tell you, like, hey, why do you have him ahead of Olave? And I'm like, well, he's an explosive mover. Boy, he is hell after the catch. He is high pointing the ball. Just different things like that. So to me, I wouldn't even like Olave at 24. And I like him.
And there's a guy right there that makes, in my opinion, I'll disagree with Jeff on this one. I think there's a guy that takes little plays and makes them into big plays. I think he's got the explosiveness. I think he's got the quickness. I think he's got that ability. It doesn't matter where you throw the ball to this kid. He is going to make a play. He is going to find a way to get the ball, get it down the field. And like it's crossing routes, it's underneath screens, whatever you throw him the ball, I kind of feel like that he's going to take it and make something big out of it.
His separation comes before the throw. It comes before the catch. That's where his route running comes in. That's where his ability to get away from a defender comes in. And then on the backside of it, he's not as explosive after the catch as Garrett Wilson, as Jamison Williams, as John Mechie, and of course Williams and Mechie before their injuries at the same time. But he does so much before the catch that it was kind of a fundamental thing that I feel like he got lost in the shuffle. You were talking about damaged goods early on. You could look at Williams and Mechie as damaged goods. You could say Drake London has some lapses to his game, but he's got extra strengths either way. Chris Olave is just a solid receiver across the board, so maybe he's just not talked about as much, but that's a good thing to be very consistently even in a lot of different areas.
Yeah, I think that's well said. One last one. I gotta give Dane Brugler his flowers a little bit. It was really good doing the show with him last week. We missed you in Indy, Brian. My Combine Brian, the best person ever. But
nobody yelling at the guy from the Broncos.
No, we weren't. No, there were no fights on Radio Road.
I tried. It just wasn't the same.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Didn't do anything. You pissed the Jets off.
No, not the. Travon Walker, amazing workout. And I mean, Dane's been selling this guy as a top 10.
He
pick.
has.
How do you feel about him? Did his workout do anything to change your mind there?
No, I've kind of like, you watch his tape. It's just, to me, the workout, all those Georgia kids. I tweeted about this. I mean,
about
like,
8 of them.
well, we're surprised that these Georgia kids all ran well and worked out well.
No.
You just watch their tape, and we've been talking about it a bunch. They all run to the ball. I mean, every single one of them runs to the ball, and it's like a race to see who gets there first. And with stuff with Walker, any one of these Georgia guys, it didn't surprise me at all. I mean, maybe you're in a situation now. We were kind of talking about him as being a guy at 24. Maybe that's a little bit of a stretch now with the workout, depending on that. But the guy can play at a couple different spots. I've seen him rush inside, seen him rush on the edge. You're talking about a guy that's that long with that weight and all that. Yeah, that's a really good football player right there. First round guy for sure.
Fastest 20 minutes ever. We're running behind, but we got plenty of combine questions for y'all. We're going to get to them when we get back from this break.
At Smoothie King, we are blending goodness to fuel your greatness. Every blend is crafted to help you achieve your health and fitness goals. Smoothie King uses only whole fruits and organic veggies. You'll never find sugary syrups or artificial flavors, colors, or preservatives. And unlike some other smoothie places, there are 0 grams of added sugar in many of our blends. Smoothie King is proud to be the official smoothie of the Dallas Cowboys. Place your order in the app or online for pickup or delivery. Smoothie King, rule the day.
What do you call a group of grown men and women with their faces painted silver and blue who get together every week to share a 3-hour-long ritual of jumping, singing, and toasting Miller Lite in 10-gallon hats while yelling, "How about them Cowboys?" You call it Miller Time in Dallas. Here's to the Cowboys. Here's to the original light beer. It's Miller Time. Celebrate responsibly. 2021 Miller Brewing Company, Fort Worth, Texas.
Football season is almost over, and that means tax season is here. With it comes taxiety. Filing taxes can be stressful if you choose the wrong partner. Don't let taxiety take over this tax season. Liberty Tax will help you get your largest possible refund or your money back. With more than 12,000 tax professionals nationwide, help is always around the corner. Check out Liberty Tax, proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys. Schedule an appointment today at libertytax.com/cowboys. Liberty Tax, a brighter way to do taxes.
Hey, Cowboys fans, if you're thinking about attending a game this season, visit cowboystravel.com to book your travel package today. Stay at the team hotel, have dinner with a Cowboys legend, and experience AT&T Stadium's exclusive VIP Owners Club. Also, tour the Star, get autographs from your favorite players, and talk X's and O's with me, Mickey Spagnola. The official travel partner of the Dallas Cowboys will take care of all your travel needs. Visit cowboystravel.com.
This is the DallasCowboys.com Draft Show.
Welcome back to the show. Liberty Tax is a proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys. Schedule an appointment today at libertytax.com/cowboys. I told y'all we would get into it. I don't want you to think that I don't want to talk about Zion Johnson. I just wanted to give Jason credit for a great question. He says,
Twitter on the 20.
Thank you, Beam. I forgot.
Twitter.
You know what we do in the second segment. I don't need to intro it. It's fine.
Too much going on in the show today, Dave.
Look, I got a lot to get to, man. It stresses me out. Jason wants to know, why shouldn't Zion Johnson be OG1? Fight.
I think it's a fair question. I will probably have him as OG1. I had him as a 1-2 cheater grade and Kenyon Green as a first-round grade. And with their athletic testing factored in, I think it's a legitimate debate conversation between Kenyon Green and Zion Johnson. I love Zion Johnson. If he's the pick at 24, you'll see me going, woohoo!
What makes you like him more than Green?
He tested well in every way. Like, I already liked him. I really liked his tape. And then when you test as, let's see, the jumps, the shuttle, the three-cone, all of those were elite for an offensive lineman or for an offensive guard. Tackles can be more athletic. And so, not that I had athleticism questions about him, but when you find out that a guy is plus, that's a little bonus. He's an awesome player, and he's an awesome athlete. That's a first-round guy.
Brian, you look pensive.
I don't think this guy completely trusts himself as a pass blocker. I don't. And I think that as many things as the bad testing as you might want to talk about with Kenyon Green, I think he does trust himself. I think that's a nasty football player, that Kenyon Green. And I think he'll surprise you with how well he can redirect and how he's able to adjust in space. And he did. I mean, you can watch him play tackle against Alabama and hold his own against that team. And I think to play tackle against Alabama, you got to be able to be a pretty good athlete. So that doesn't bother me as much. But I just kind of feel like, though, to me, with Johnson, I've seen a guy that, like I said, I think he does a good job of playing till the whistle blows. I was writing stuff about that. But there's that slight hesitation with him. And, again, it's about the trust of him as a pass blocker that bothers me a little bit. That's why I have Ed Ingram over him myself. And it's not an LSU bias. I'm just looking at players. I'm just trying to figure it out. If you had to give me to rank them, I'd say Green, Ingram, and Johnson would be my three guys.
I'm curious. Oh, go ahead, Kyle.
I was just going to ask you, based on what we saw from the combine. I mean, strength was something that I was knocking Johnson for, at least from his tape. Mm-hmm. And then he comes out and he has 12 more bench press reps than Kenyon Green. Yep. Well, kind of going back to what you were saying, how aggressive Kenyon Green is, but fundamentally sound, he's a better player on tape. Where does that weigh in terms of scouting departments when you're looking at Zion Johnson as a raw talent, where maybe Green is nearing the ceiling because of how fundamentally sound he is, whereas Johnson may have even more room to improve?
I would flip that.
You think so?
I have more faith in Zion Johnson in terms
as a fundamental player?
In terms of consistency, yeah.
Really?
I think he's the best sustainer of blocks in this draft. I think the combination of flexibility, mobility, grip strength.
He locks on. He doesn't let go.
I think Zion is pretty damn safe. I think, to me, Kenyon Green is more, not a projection because he's played so many different places, but when you're playing so many different places, you're asked to do different things at different times as opposed to being the left guard every week.
That's a good point.
I think Zion Johnson is safer than Kenyon Green.
Brian, why do you think it is? Because Zion tested very well athletically. Mm-hmm. Why do you think it is that he wouldn't trust himself as a pass blocker?
I don't think he really trusted his strength. I don't. I mean, there's times when you watch him play and there's that hesitation, and it didn't look like he was really, really sure about how he's strong enough. The numbers tell you he's strong enough, But you watch Green, when Green locks on a guy, that guy doesn't move. I mean, they don't go back. I mean, they sit right there on the line. And I just there were games that I saw. I mean, you can watch Zion Johnson play against Clemson and teams like that have these really good athletic defensive linemen, and I kind of felt like though that was a good test. So here I'm watching Alabama. Tape for Green. I'm watching Zion Johnson play against Clemson, and I'm kind of trying to watch the best of the best. I just felt more confident that the guy at Texas A&M was just a little bit more of a guy that when he wasn't going to get knocked back or pulled forward or pulled out of his stance.
This feels like a perfect example of the way this draft class is structured, in the sense of, like, there's talent, there's not a lot of consensus past about 6 or 7 prospects.
Yeah.
And we're sitting
Even
here
in the top 6 or 7.
I feel like y'all are saying the same thing about different players. You're like, oh, well, here's why all the reasons I like this guy, not so much. And it's just beauty's in the eye of the beholder, right?
Yeah, that's the thing about it. The Cowboys, as good as we think the players are there at 24, like I said earlier to open the show, there's going to be some flaws in every one of these guys.
That's what happens when you're picking 24.
Well, and that's true. But you've got to know the flaws you're dealing with. That's going in. You're not. Does one of these guys is going to be plug and play? Linderbaum, plug and play, absolutely. Green, Johnson, plug and play, absolutely. But just know what you're going to potentially get going into this thing.
I think the whole thing about positional value with guard is overdone a little bit. Zach Martin speaks for himself. We've seen guys like Brandon Scherf get drafted really highly. But 2 guards in the first round, that is not common. It's not super common anyway. Are these both first round locks in your opinion? And I'm not saying like gone by 24, but just first 32 picks.
I think that, to me, that's why I said I Green, Ingram, and Johnson. Green to me would be, to use Jeff's term, the cheater grade kind of a thing, that 1 to 2. And then Ingram and Johnson I have clearly in the second round on my board. But I only have 20 first-round grades. So, it's not like we've talked about this a bunch. You don't have 32 first-round grades.
Right.
Their 24 are likely going to take a second-round player off my board.
I'm glad you said that.
Unless it's one of those safeties, Dax Hill or somebody like that.
Do you have one more thing to add, Kyle?
I was just going to add to your point a second ago about how there hasn't been an interior offensive lineman taken. There hasn't been one since 2020 at 24. Cesar Ruiz out of Michigan went to the New Orleans Saints.
And not having a wonderful career.
It's not been a great start, but he's the last interior guy to be drafted in the first round, the only one over the last 2 years.
He's had to play center and guard.
He's had a lot put on his plate. I can't wait to, again, I'm a broken record, but the way this is going to shake out, like one of these guys is going to go.
They're going to take. They're going to. I would willing, if you were going to do the Leighton Vander Esch, say who they're going to take guy.
Yeah.
They're going to take an offensive. They're going to take a guard at 24, I believe.
That's what you would.
If I had to bet right now, that's what I would say. They're going to take a guard.
I think I'd be with you.
Unless the receiver they love falls to that spot, I think I agree with you.
I don't want to derail the segment, but is tackle in that conversation a little bit as well? Because I feel like this tackle class continues to feel more and more and more top heavy. We mentioned Penning early. Of course, you have the top 3 guys with Ekwonu and
we actually
Cross.
got. Will McClay doesn't like to give out a lot, but he was gushing about this tackle class at the combine.
Yeah, no, that's what
Bad news, Will.
They're all
gonna
gone.
Be gone.
Well, the top.
The 4 I want.
Yeah. Well, Penning on my book is the 4th one.
Right.
So if that's the case, then you're looking at guys down the line for sure. But there's going to be the Cowboys at 24. I believe I'm going to make a prediction is going to take an interior offensive lineman, whether it's the center from Iowa or one of these, the Boston College or Texas A&M kid.
I don't think that's a bad bet at all. Going back to your point, we say it a million times every year. You only have 16 to 20 first-round grades.
Yeah.
Michael wants to know, we've been saying it forever, the sweet spot in this draft feels like it's between like 25 and 60. He wants to know, what about your second-round grades? And Brian, I would love to call on your experience actually doing this. What is a normal number of second-round grades, just on average, in your opinion? And then how many do you have right now?
Yeah, I didn't count them up. I'd have to do some quick math here on the thing.
You went to LSU. I don't want you doing that.
No, exactly. When you start talking, I feel like the depth of it at position, I feel like I've got 3 to 4 guys at every position. The only position, I have like 3 safeties in that second round. I got 4 cornerbacks, 2 inside linebackers. I have 6 defensive tackles, whether you have it as 1s or 3s together.
Jeff's eyes just lit
3.
up.
No, because I thought it was funny. I had 6 also.
3 edges, 3 running backs, 3 quarterbacks, 4 guards, 2 tackles, 2 tight ends, and then you could say 5 wide receivers in the second is where I got it. So that all those numbers, it to me, I would love to have. You don't just put window dress these second-round grades. Every one of those guys in the second round, I'd love to have. I'm not going to, like I said, we've talked about Brisker, the Penn State safety. We've talked about, London, Pickens, guys like that. Clark from LSU, Harris from Alabama. These are all guys.
Christian Harris had a nice combine.
He did.
Yeah. The problem is he's 226 pounds, though, too. You wonder if people are going to look at that and say, there's a couple of these guys in this thing. Like I say, maybe the top linebackers, when you look at Dean and Harris and those guys, are kind of a little bit of undersized guys.
I'm derailing my own segment right now, but I was thinking about that at the combine. If you look at the Cowboys' history, especially since McCarthy got here, and before that too, they love size. Look at Leighton Vander Esch. Look at his physical makeup. And it makes me wonder if they would even consider a Nakobe Dean. We've talked.
Oh, no.
Are we off base even talking about him because he's small?
We put him where you put him where. But Dan Quinn, Atlanta though,
drafted Deion Jones.
Yeah, and that's
he's taller than Dean though. He's 6'2".
Well, that's what I'm saying. Dean's 5'11".
Yeah,
that's what he is.
Yeah.
So Lloyd. My gut feeling is a guy like Dean will probably be there for you.
But would they take him?
I don't
know if they're drafting a 5'11".
I think that if you talked about who the better players are, if you're looking at your team, if you said, okay, we have to fix something now, they're going to fix the inside of that offensive line. Mm-hmm. They're going to fix the inside of that offensive line first is what they're going to do.
By the way, just to keep this conversation, here are the guys that they talked to in terms of inside linebackers at the combine. Leo Chenal from Wisconsin.
Bigger guy.
Christian Harris from Alabama.
Well, you were talking about a good combine.
Brian Asamoah. Yeah, Brian Asamoah from Oklahoma. He's
a really small guy.
And then Damone Clark. Those are the four inside linebackers.
So they kind of went two bigs and two smalls.
Good
is what they did.
I love Nakobe Dean. I'm not trying to write him off. I hope that they would be interested in drafting him. It's something I was thinking about. Jeff, I'll lob this to you from JU. He's definitely, you know what that means, right? It's about
Skyy Moore?
No. It is about a wide receiver.
Is that Johnson?
That's not a wide receiver.
He's definitely not a forgotten man, but he can't do anything because he's hurt. Jamison Williams.
Yeah.
What do you do with this guy? Where do you
I can tell you where he's going to get picked.
That's what I'm asking you.
Yeah, I know how the NFL works.
Go.
So what happens is you go through this thing, and you'll have a couple receivers plucked off the board. They won't be named Jamison Williams. And then, lo and behold, we'll all be sitting there with our hand in a popcorn tub when Pat Mahomes gets Jamison Williams.
Oh God.
That's where Jamison Williams is going to go. He's going to be a Chief.
Every mock draft has him going to Tampa. At the end of the board. They're right. There's some of these guys like Williams. Some of these guys that are hurt. These people are going to take advantage. Tennessee did that with a defensive tackle from Mississippi State a couple years ago, and
maybe Jamison goes 24th.
Yeah.
That would be.
I don't think that's impossible.
That would be.
You don't think this team would like to have that sort of playmaking explosive?
That would be so fun.
I think this team is looking at right now. They're trying to figure out this whole thing we've been talking about a bunch with the Amari Cooper.
Yeah.
They need to get Gallup done before they even think about moving.
Oh yeah.
Cooper.
I think there's a good possibility your receivers next year are CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, Cedric Wilson.
See, I don't think Cedric Wilson.
See, it sounds like Cedric Wilson's getting a lot of play.
Cedric Wilson's going to get a deal that will make some eyebrows go.
Well, and if that happens, then hot darn, let's go. We're picking wide receivers early, baby.
Wait, all right. Well, let me just. I'm always sorry. No, you're good. I'm trying to answer as many questions
as
possible.
Go ahead. I took you off.
We won't let you.
No, I'm hoping you're going here anyway. But
I was going to say your prediction earlier of interior offensive line in the first round. Mm-hmm. My prediction is that there's a receiver taken in the first two rounds
by the Cowboys. I think that is a fantastic bet.
Yeah.
Which tying into that.
First three.
This question is: in a world where Amari's gone and Gallup is signed long term, give me a receiver that you think fits. Basically, Gallup and Lamb are your building blocks of your receiver core. Maybe you sign a veteran in free agency, but receiver being a need. Give me a guy that fits with those two. If Lamb and Gallup are your 1 and 2, a guy that you like is your 3.
Do I have to answer?
No.
Thank you.
Do you think they would? Wait, all right, Kyle, go ahead.
CeeDee Lamb can stay outside. I'll take Skyy Moore in the second round and party.
There it is. I probably would have said David Bell
before
last
he ran
week,
a 4.65.
But then he ran a 4.65. I don't like slow wide receivers. We talked about that last year a little bit as well. I'm not a big fan of slow wide receivers, and David Bell proved to me that he's a slow one. Route running, fine. Ball skills, fine. football IQ, toughness, it's all there. But in terms of running a 4.65, I'm not there.
Can I pick yours for you, Brian?
Go ahead.
George Pickens?
Damn right.
Yeah, that's a good one.
He's good.
That's probably
George
who I would
Pickens.
pick right now.
He's good.
Honestly.
6'3", 195. I think there's a certain amount of flash and explosiveness. And you watch this guy. He the way he catches the ball, it reminds me of Odell Beckham. Seriously, with those type of hands. I mean, he plays when he's running with the ball. He keeps it like in one hand, and you can just see the hand strength.
So he hold it out there like
crazy.
Odell does?
It's crazy. I mean, but he goes
doesn't even have
high,
big hands.
low. I mean, yeah, but he's not afraid. I mean,
He's a
this
bigger receiver though, and
6'3".
he's still got that.
Yeah, I mean, to me that's the guy. If his knee were to check out, I mean check out in a good way, not check out. No, give him a bad thing. I mean, I would be all over this. And I mentioned this guy, this Alex Pierce from Cincinnati.
Well, you want to talk about a good combine.
There's another guy. I mean, we talked about him before the combine. He's 6'3", he's 211 pounds. He's tough. I mean, you watch Ritter. You're trying to evaluate Ritter.
Yeah.
And he's throwing the ball to this one guy that's number 12 the whole time, and you're going, well, who is this cat? And then you look it up, it's like, oh, that's a cat I get to watch down the stretch.
And he runs a 4.33, and he jumped out of the gym.
Yeah, I mean, body control, balance, all these things with this guy too.
I'm having an existential crisis because one of my biggest draft crushes is an FCS guy, and the Cowboys haven't drafted one of those.
North Dakota State kid,
Christian Watson.
Yeah.
You like him?
He had
I scouted his dad.
I loved him at the Senior Bowl, and then he goes to the Combine and does that.
I remember you were gushing on him in Mobile.
Was the combine
doing that.
broken this year?
Yeah.
Sure seemed like
I can't recall a year
They
where
got that-
so many people that you name, you're like, holy cow, the combine he had. Like you mentioned linebacker, Chad Muma destroyed the combine.
Yeah.
Every Georgia linebacker destroyed the combine.
Well, it goes back to what Dave was
Leo
saying.
Chanel
There's a
destroyed
theory.
the combine.
It was one way or the other, though. It was either they destroyed it and they like jumped out of the gym and
There's
then
two
they ran these
things.
great things, or they was just awful.
There's two reasons.
They install Ohio State's track.
Yeah, downhill.
Because it's laser, right?
Yeah, well, there's two things I think. And this is the scouts had an interesting. The one is that you've got these testing centers. These kids prep for the
Right.
workout. They know what drills are coming as far as the.
It's like studying for a test.
And
Okay.
the ones who didn't perform well probably went to the wrong place.
Well, or they didn't go at all.
Yeah.
Or they just tried to work on their own.
Yeah.
So, like the two fastest times were two kids from the same group that ran. I mean, that's just. There's also a theory though that they let them roll and do things more. The scouts believe that because the combine was put on television, that because it was a prime time event.
Were they goosing the numbers for TV engagement?
Well, just letting them roll a little bit, not calling them back.
There's scouts that came up to me and talked to me and said, "There's no way this is the fastest combine in NFL history. There's no way."
Yeah,
He goes-
especially we've
he
been
goes,
down on this class all
there
year.
was some rolling. There was some. If you look at the prime time numbers. If you look at the primetime numbers, they were really, really high.
We've gotten to the bottom of this.
That's just scouts thinking, man. Scouts are we
I
drive
can't
around
wait.
and think of great
I
ideas.
guarantee every scout in the NFL is furious.
Well,
at the
if you look
combine
at
being taken away from them
the
anyway.
three cone drill, there weren't the numbers weren't great for that for some reason. So the scouts have
It's
all
not sexy on TV.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. The NFL is like, listen, hey, what's the buzz about the combine? It's running. That's the whole buzz, and they put that in prime time.
They're not going to pick a receiver anymore.
It's really interesting.
According
Why?
to beat writers, the Cowboys have signed Noah Brown to a 1-year deal.
No, it's over. At least
squared away.
that wide receiver dream is done.
He is. I like
At
having
least
him as your fifth wide
At
receiver.
least Simi Fehoko doesn't have to put weight on now and try and beat Noah Brown.
God bless Noah Brown, man.
Yeah.
Seventh pick in the draft, 7th round pick, still kicking around, third contract. Sorry, what's up, Kyle?
By the way, your guy George Pickens, first player they met with. Your guy Christian Watson, second player they met with.
Come on,
literally
Will.
the first two off the board.
Bring me
Rodgers
an
just got
FCS
$200
player.
million.
Okay.
Oh my
Jeff's
gosh.
just breaking
What's that?
news here.
Are you Adam Schefter now?
Ian Rappaport tweeted out Rodgers
With the
4
Packers?
years, $200 million. Yeah.
Holy cow.
See, my guys in Green Bay told me that was going to come. It said between 45 and 50.
That's dead on 50.
That's okay.
So
Four for
my
200.
guys in Green Bay didn't lie.
Is Jordan Love a future Washington Commanders quarterback?
He's something because
now?
Rodgers 153 of this is guaranteed.
Yeesh.
Holy cow.
Real quick, we're going way long. I don't
Sorry.
care. No, I don't care.
That's interesting,
good
though.
deal.
That could come in play in the draft. Jordan Love, first-round picks. Something could happen.
One guy I wanted to talk about who I also feel like gets lost in the shuffle.
Skyy Moore a little bit.
Cully wanted to hear about Devontae Wyatt, another Georgia guy that had an amazing workout.
Yeah.
I think he'll go in the first round. I think there's a pretty good chance he goes in the first round because I think he'll be the first 3 technique taken. And the first 3 technique taken generally is going in the first round. So I wouldn't be surprised if Devontae Wyatt is picked somewhere 18, 19 to 28, something like that.
Jeff's right. I mean, I kind of felt like this guy could play 1 or 3.
Yeah.
That's just how, man, you watch him come off the ball and the movement stuff. I mean, again, I'm not surprised at any of these Georgia kids. I'm just not. I'm really not. You can watch the tape. They all play fast. They all run. And they're all really good football players, and they're all going to get picked high, and they deserve. And they win a national championship. That's why.
It's defense in college football history.
Seriously, if you're, it's not that hard. Scouting is not that hard when you watch Georgia and like, oh, I'll take that big monster. Oh, I'll take this guy that's really fast. Oh, I'll take this linebacker that looks a little short, but he's making every tackle.
If he can play,
I'll take this safety that can run really fast too.
If he can play 1 and 3 and has those measurables and can run a 4.77, are we not talking about him enough as a 24 overall kind of guy?
Honestly, I think you should talk about him.
I just kind of felt like, though, that to me, I say the one part of it because I think he's strong. I think he's so quick with his hands that, like, he's not going to let people block him. And that's the hands get away. But, yeah, I mean, absolutely. I just don't think that they would take a defensive lineman. I just don't think they would take a tackle at 24. I just don't.
Never done it before, at least not in my memory. Yeah. All right. Speaking of breaking news, appreciate that, Jeff. There were some more Cowboys news involving Dalton Schultz. We're going to talk about how that affects the Cowboys draft when we come back from this break.
Football season is almost over, and that means tax season is here. With it comes taxiety. Filing taxes can be stressful if you choose the wrong partner. Don't let taxiety take over this tax season. Liberty Tax will help you get your largest possible refund or your money back. With more than 12,000 tax professionals nationwide, help is always around the corner. Check out Liberty Tax, proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys. Schedule an appointment today at libertytax.com/Cowboys. Liberty Tax, a brighter way to do taxes.
Hey, Cowboys fans, if you're thinking about attending a game this season, visit cowboystravel.com to book your travel package today. Stay at the team hotel, have dinner with a Cowboys legend, and experience AT&T Stadium's exclusive VIP Owners Club. Also, tour the Star, get autographs from your favorite players, and talk X's and O's with me, Mickey Spagnola. The official travel partner of the Dallas Cowboys will take care of all your travel needs. Visit cowboystravel.com.
What do you call a group of grown men and women with their faces painted silver and blue who get together every week to share a 3-hour-long ritual of jumping, sinking, and toasting Miller Lite in 10-gallon hats while yelling, "How about them Cowboys?" You call it Miller Time in Dallas. Here's to the Cowboys. Here's to the original light beer. It's Miller Time. Celebrate responsibly. 2021 Miller Brewing Company, Fort Worth, Texas.
This is Chad Hennings, former Cowboy and proud veteran of the United States Air Force. When my fellow military veterans choose VA, they receive life-changing benefits from the Department of Veterans Affairs. If you are a veteran, you may be eligible for healthcare, education, and training benefits, a home loan guarantee, housing assistance, and more. Choose VA for the benefits you've earned. Visit choose.va.gov to learn more. That's choose.va.gov.
This is the DallasCowboys.com Draft Show.
Get the ultimate fan experience for the ultimate Cowboys fan. Join Dallas Cowboys United, presented by Globe Life, starting at just $20. Join now and get your fan pack, your exclusive benefits, and a whole lot more. You can visit DallasCowboys.com/United for details and to join today. Welcome back to the final episode of the Draft Show. We tried not to really get too into the Cowboys weeds here on the Draft Show because there's 19 other shows on this platform that do that. But, fellas, I do think it's interesting. We saw this coming about a week ago, but Dalton Schultz has been tagged by the Cowboys. He is now under contract for the 2022 season at something like $10.9 million. not so much curious about that. I mean, we'll have so much time to get into what that means for Amari Cooper and a whole bunch of other things. But in terms of the tight end position, I would like to have a dialogue about what that might look like, because for my money, you do this as a stopgap probably, right? Because the Cowboys, and they told you themselves at the Combine, they don't feel good about their numbers at this position. And so I just think this is a prime position to be targeted in the draft. And how might they do that?
Am I on? No, I'm not.
There you
Hi,
go.
everybody.
You're back.
I guess I'll give you a better opinion in like 7 weeks. Because
that's a long time.
Because what do they view this as? Because in my mind, the natural thing for the Cowboys to do would be, now that you've tagged Dalton Schultz, would be to actually work out a long-term deal so that his cap hit is less than $11 million this year. So then you can go about signing Randy Gregory and Jaron Kearse, whatever. So in my brain, I'm thinking this is, hold on while we work out a long-term deal, and I don't feel like other people in the room think that. I feel like you guys think that this might be a play on the tag.
I think this is a play on the tag.
I'm with you. I think they've got till July 15th to work out a deal. I think with that cap hit being a little bit less would help them out tremendously than playing with the $10 million tag moving forward to get that long-term deal done. But before July 15th, I think it's absolutely doable.
What do you think, Brian?
Yeah, if Blake Jarwin hadn't just totally destroyed himself, this might be a different situation right now.
Agreed.
I think the Cowboys are buying themselves some time. I know Will McClay likes to protect himself.
Yep.
I understand what Jeff's saying. I just think this tight end draft actually is too good to not dip the toe in the pool. You know, I feel like that at the Combine they talked to a couple different guys. We mentioned I'm really high on this. I'm gonna say it's a Dulcich.
Greg Dulcich.
Dulcich.
You got to be careful with that.
I know,
Don't say
but
the wrong
I
word.
think that's. I mean, I was trying to Dulcich.
UCLA, right?
Yeah, UCLA tight end.
Greg Dulcich.
There
we go.
I can't say his name right.
Careful, Brian. Careful.
I can't say his name right. I'm sorry.
6'4", 243 out
But
of
anyway,
UCLA.
he's I mean, there's him. They've talked about him, Charlie Kohler, from Iowa State. These are guys that are. I kind of feel like though when they get down in that third, fourth round, they did the same thing with Schultz. They find a guy that's got a little bit more blocking ability. The kid from UCLA can block, and he can line up at a bunch of different spots. You might have to go earlier than maybe the third round on him.
Yeah, where do you start looking?
I got him in 2, and that's a problem if you're for team building because nobody's going to take. I mean, they took our guy from San Diego State here, Gavin Escobar in the second round, and that didn't work out so well. This guy's much better than Gavin Escobar ever thought about being. But I kind of feel like, though, that maybe if it's not him, then you take a look at, like I say, the Kohler. He's 6'7" and 256. They talked to Isaiah Likely from Coastal Carolina.
6'7"? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Can we go back
massive.
to? Yeah,
no, you
let's
watch
talk
him
Charles
play.
Kohler.
Yeah, you watch him play, and it's interesting because I would not say he's the most athletic runner, but at 6'7", you're going to look funny running that way anyway. But what he does is he's got body control and he's got balance. And what happens is at 6'7", when he goes and gets the football, nobody can get to him. They're hitting his wrists. He's extending and they're hitting his forearms and wrists, trying to knock the ball away.
Because he's got a massive wingspan on top of the 6'7". I mean, it's like playing power forward in the NBA.
Seriously, you watch him play, and he's got to feel like that with Dalton Schultz. What's the one thing Dalton Schultz does? He's got to feel for where to go. Run, stop, sit down, catch the ball. This guy in the red zone, is a killer because, again, he kind of gets up the field, and then he knows how to get to space, and they throw him the ball, and he's so damn tall that he makes these plays. So that's a problem for defenders. They can't reach on him when he extends. So I think that's one of those guys you talk about the third, fourth round. That's, I think, the sweet spot for what the Cowboys are they're probably not going to get the 2 best tight ends, but they'll probably get guys that make sense for them in that third, fourth round.
The names that we've mentioned throughout, Trey McBride from Colorado State, Jalen Weidermeyer
It's
from
another
Texas
guy they
A&M,
like a lot, yeah.
Kate Otten from Washington,
Love
Jeremy
him.
Ruckert from Ohio State. Are you saying those guys are too early for the Cowboys window? Because
No, the early guys to me is going to be like I say, I think UCLA's too early, and I think Texas A&M Weidemeier's. Yeah, it's too early. Yeah, I don't want to say the kid's name because I don't want to get a
Just don't do it.
I'm not, and I'm not going to say it when he gets drafted. If he gets drafted here, I'm going to have to learn.
We'll just call him Greg.
But yeah, I mean,
Greg D, baby.
I know these guys. I know these guys really do like Trey McBride from Colorado State. You can watch Trey McBride. I mean, this guy is really tough runner after the catch. I mean, Colorado State was bad last year. This was the kid that he was the bright spot of a team, but he's like an old school Y tight end that lines up in line and stuff like that. So, I mean, man, he's pretty impressive. And I mentioned, you mentioned, Kyle, about Cade Otton. This is one of my favorite kids. And
you were early on him.
He is banged up. Yeah, he's banged up, and he's probably, you're going to have to go work him out and stuff. But you watch Cade Otton play at Washington. I mean, he makes a ton of plays. So to me, if they don't go the route of trying to extend, I think they've got some seriously good options there at tight end.
Honestly, Jeff could be right.
He could very well be right.
My read on it is that I think the Cowboys were going to say, Dalton, we really appreciate everything you did here. We're going to roll with Blake because he's cheaper.
Yeah.
And we're going to take that nice comp pick we get when you sign a $60 million deal with the Jets.
Right.
And then they found out Blake Jarwin might not be available
might
this
not
year.
ever play again.
Yep. And look, I get that there's some great tight ends in this class. There aren't very many tight ends who can come right in and play. It's just not a position where that happens. And those guys tend to go in the top 15 if they are that good.
Well, look at the guys that you have or had underneath Jarwin and guys like that over the last couple of years. The Jeremy Sprinkles of the world, the Blake Bells of the world. You don't need a guy to come in and make plays. That's what Dalton Schultz is doing at the moment. You may need a guy to come in and fill a role either as a blocker or as a red zone threat. And that's kind of where I'm with Brian on the Charlie Kohler type of pick, because Dalton Schultz, as good as he is, he's solid in the red zone. He's not a red zone mismatch. You could have a red zone mismatch, and you haven't had that on this roster. That's where I'm a little bit worried about Trey McBride, because he had one touchdown grab or zero touchdown grabs this past season. He's not that same kind of red zone threat. In between the 20s, he's as good as anybody.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I want a guy who's going to either be a mismatch inside the 20-yard line or somebody that's just going to run people over and block in the run game and find some time in the pass game every now and again.
Does the crap quality of his team play into that at all?
Yes, I think it does.
Like maybe he could be better in a better
quarterback
offense.
Wasn't great.
He wasn't good. No. I don't think it was 100% on the bad team. I still think there's things that he could have done to be better in the red zone.
Isn't this a big list of tight ends that are unrestricted or free agent tight ends?
Lots of them,
A lot of them.
Yeah. So maybe if you don't want to go that route, maybe they can bottom fish.
Pick another
My
guy.
plan for the Dallas Cowboys this offseason is if it doesn't help Dak, I'm not interested in you telling me anything else. That's my plan right now.
I like that.
Like if you can't help me with an offensive lineman, you can't help me with a receiver, you can't help me with a tight end or any of that, I'm really not interested in talking to you about it.
How much do you think this helps Dak, keeping Schultz around?
Obviously, it's big because Dalton Schultz has figured out how to get open, and like I said, the stop and stuff. They could send the defense one way, he goes the other way, he makes plays. Dalton Schultz is never going to break away and tackles. I mean, he's going to bang around and do some things. It's looked at as a bad thing, but who's the one thing on offense in the second half of the season they had that was with any consistency? Throwing the ball 8 yards to Dalton Schultz, and he gets another 3 yards on top of that.
It was always the blanket.
Yeah,
worked for another guy who played here for a really long time.
Anything that's not helping Dak, I don't want to talk about. That's how I look at this.
You've got grades on all these guys, right?
Yeah.
Can you just kind of read down them for me?
Yeah, I don't have a first round tight end.
No, I know, but just give me
Weidemeyer, UCLA second round, Otton, Rucker, McBride. Rucker's Ohio State. McBride is Colorado State. Kohler likely in the fourth or two in that. And
You got my guy Trey McBride as your fifth tight end?
I do.
I'm coming after you.
Where do you have him, Jeff?
What's with all the questions?
I just want you to engage in the segment.
Trey McBride I had as a 2-3, and then I have Ruckert as a 3, likely as a 4. And
that's where I have Ruckert.
Brian's seen 76 other guys that I haven't seen yet, but I'm also unemployed, so I got a lot of time today.
It's fair.
I can get real caught up.
I just think
That was a ski trip.
Ski trip was great. Didn't watch a lot of tape, but I did make some YouTube videos. If you want to check out my page, that's what I am now. I'm a YouTube streamer.
Don't let Brian make you feel guilty for having work-life balance.
I don't have work.
That's
my
the
job.
name of your game.
Yeah.
I leave work at 8:00 on a Tuesday in the off season, and you're like, really? Already? You're out of here?
No.
I missed one day of tape 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
It was
he still
literally
complains about it.
Valentine's Day.
Yep.
And he was like, "Oh, we're just not watching tape now, huh?" I was like,
Yeah.
Come on,
And
man.
he sidles up to me and he's like, Jeff's priorities are all out of whack. We got to do something about this guy. So Dalton Schultz, the highest drafted tight end, he was picked 137, highest drafted tight end since Gavin Escobar.
Right.
I just see this as a situation where maybe day 2 or early day 3, you bring that guy in and let him season for a year.
Yeah. I just feel like that they're looking at these guys. That's something that, and they're just trying to determine their stack will probably be different than our stack as far as, with the way they have them. I just really do like the athletic ability of Otten a lot. I know he's banged up. I hope people take a look at him if they can.
To go back to your point about helping Dak, we made so much about what they made 11 picks last year. 9 of them were defenders.
Right.
I don't know if the split is going to be that insane.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of these picks are going to be built around helping Dak Prescott.
You need to.
Offensive line, a tight end, a wide receiver. I just think
if they don't, then you're going to find out real fast that Dak Prescott might become Carson Wentz or any of these guys that people move on from.
Skyy Moore will save us.
And with that, I think we should begin and end every show.
Bookend, baby.
Skyy Moore will save us.
With that, we will be back on Thursday. With the way things are going, there will probably be plenty more changes between now and then. It's a hectic time of year. We will be there to help you through all of it. Thank you for listening to The Draft Show. We'll see you next time.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys?